Howdy folks, welcome to my backyard on this beautiful snowy morning. Right here I've got a 1957 Dodge D500. It's a ton and a half and it's the old military truck that was decommissioned and was put on a farm years ago. Basically, I don't know if this thing runs. I don't know if it drives, but we're going to try that today. I have no idea how long it's been sitting, but as you can tell, it's been quite a while. Very many years, I would have to guess. But what we had to do was basically relocate this truck. We had to basically pull it from the farm it was sitting on, and that was quite the endeavor. So let's flash back a few weeks and watch me struggle to get this thing home.
Now, the story of this magnificent Dodge starts pretty much like anything else, with the beginning. I'd been scrolling through the ads, just checking out everything for sale, and I saw these two pictures right here. Now, they're not that great, didn't know a whole lot about the truck to begin with, but I stared at them. And for whatever reason, I kept coming back to these two pictures. I sat on it for a few days, looked at it some more, sat on it a few more days, looked at it some more, thought, man, I really couldn't pay $1,500 for this truck. There's no way. It obviously says right there, no brakes. And that was really all the description gave me. Just like always, they didn't really give you a whole lot of information. But hey, I liked the way it looked. I never worked on a truck of this demeanor. Meaning it's just something that's way too oversized and obnoxiously large and great and awesome. So I had to go see it. So we struck up a time to meet and I was on my way. It is a 1.5 ton flathead 6-cylinder with a 4-speed, I believe, and it's huge. And old Ram here is going to have to flat tow this thing because anything that I have trailer-wise is not big enough to haul it. So let's see what happens here. I don't know how long this thing's been sitting. Don't know if it even runs. So it could be stuck, could be broken, for all I know. But I'm excited to see what happens. And there it was, in all its glory. The gargantuan D500 spoke to me on so many levels. Bruised, battered, and as my dad likes to say, ran hard and put up wet. The bed was even bigger than the pictures had fueled my imagination. It even had a rear axle the size of those pumpkins that you see winning prizes at the county fair. Out back, it seemed someone had done some pretty clean work to the receiver hitch, so the wheels started spinning in my head to see what we could haul. My biggest concern at this point was getting it home safely, but my excitement was overshadowing any doubt of danger that lay ahead. Brakes were another problem. 1957 Dodge parts are not a fun find, and the brake pedal attempted to jump ship every time you mashed it. Our plan was to flat tow a truck bigger than what I had driven there. No trailers. Our previous owner was at least kind enough to give me a tow bar for the mission. Underneath the hood concerned me. Was it a 6-volt system? 12-volt? Seized? And that wiring job on the coil you see there? Well, it shot a shiver down my spine. What gremlins were hiding out in this mobile rat hotel? Regardless of my concerns, we had an overall complete engine. The wheels on this thing were 20 inches tall. West Coast Customs really has nothing on this thing. Yeah, the brakes were junk, but could I repair them? Would I even have the ability to get this truck off the ground? The years of sitting outside all its life had taken its toll on the exterior. Just look at all the residue growing on the body. Now, inside the truck had a lot of interesting history, and most interesting of all was the data plate mounted proudly to the dash. This clued us in on the history and the backstory belonging to this once work-minded Dodge. It mentioned being U.S. property, so it looks like we have some sort of prior military truck on our hands. A veteran to its country, you could say. And to clue us in on the origination, we have the date of delivery showing proudly as 8 January 1957. And now it was time to rig up the tow bar. Here's a little disclaimer: do not try this at home. This is not the correct way to do this. Typically you're supposed to bolt this to the bumper, but we didn't have the ability to take this bumper off. It's been on there since 1957, and I had no idea if this thing was even going to come off. So we took 2 ratchet straps, looped them around the front bumper as many times as we felt comfortable, and then proceeded to ratchet them down as tight as possible so that way it would hold to the front end. And at this point, I took these magnet tail lights and stuck them to the roof of the truck. This was just for safety's sake, so that way people behind me could see my brake lights since this giant truck was blocking their view. The moment of truth had come. Can we make it home? I held my breath. The good news is, the truck had previously been flat-towed to where I found it, so this was just another walk in the park for my new friend. For me, not so much. I could hear the tow bar buckling and shifting as a nearly 4-ton monster trailed closely behind. Wow. It's still back there. Y'all wish us luck, please. Gotta cross a little creek here. As I pulled onto the gravel road, I realized how those massive wheels were going to be a problem. Since we locked the steering wheel for the trip, the wheels would stay pointing straight every time I went through a turn. Watch here how the wheels, they just slide. Now, this wasn't a problem on gravel, but pavement, that was a different story. Here you get an idea of how long this truck has been sitting. Check out that wildlife growing right through it. On the road. Truck's still there. Hadn't made it but maybe 2 miles down back the road. We're gonna get on the highway here in just a second. That way people can safely pass me and I'm not gonna be a burden to the society of this place. 6 miles per gallon? That's all right. So we've got about an hour's worth of driving to do with this truck behind us. Maybe a little bit more. It's probably gonna take longer, maybe an hour and a half by the time we actually get there. I'm only really wanting to do about 30 because this thing's bouncing and hopping like crazy. Those tires are probably older than me and Dad combined, honestly. So we're just gonna keep trucking, hope for the best. There's 35. It's safe. And on we caravan to reach a little town with as much caution as a few tons of Detroit iron can handle. With every twist and turn these Tennessee back roads threw at us, I got a little more comfortable, but I knew in the back of my mind that at any moment, our situation could take a severe turn. We're trying to stay to the back roads, but I think we ended up driving through probably one of the busiest part of towns. The thing is that we were going to try and go for a 4-lane road so people could pass us, but ended up being way out of the way to do that. So this is the back way, but if you look around, there's a lot of traffic, a lot of people, there's a line of cars behind me. I'm doing the speed limit, it's just that everybody's in a hurry, I guess. I was in no hurry whatsoever, and apologies to those poor folks stuck in traffic behind me that day. We made it through the last big town before the final stretch home, and surprisingly, everything was going smoothly. Well, that is until I hit this left turn right here. This was the first 90-degree turn I had taken with a bit of speed, and wow, could I feel the truck pushing me. These front tires were taking a beating with all the flex they encountered. Unfortunately, I knew that there were at least 3 or 4 more turns like that one. They didn't have near as much room for me to make such a wide entrance. Commenced the white knuckle grip. We soldiered on with our military truck and braved the dangers ahead. I made a mental list at this point for every turn in our path, and only 4 sharp turns stood between us and home. Turn 1 felt like Mount Everest. We had to cross into a 4-lane and make it without being pummeled from either direction. Thankfully enough, I had plenty of room to swing wide and avoid chattering the tires too much, and this one ended up actually being the easiest of the 4. Turn 2 was neck down back to 2 lanes. At this point, the tires were screaming for relief, which forced me to swing wide into the oncoming lane. Thankfully, no one was heading our way, so smooth sailing once again. Now, turn 3 right here was the best example of the abuse these tires were taking. Just look at how much these sidewalls were flexing. And I was in the driver's seat, absolutely oblivious, totally unaware until I watched this back. Now, turn 4 was supposed to be a home run. Slide into the plate, cross the checkered flag, etc. It ended up being the sketchiest of all. As I pulled into our driveway, my Ram was pushed sideways and nearly jackknifed as soon as I hit the grass. I couldn't stop because I was sliding in the mud, and I couldn't turn out too far because I would hit a tree. Thankfully, I counter-steered like old Doc Hudson taught me, and I came out the other side unscathed. Home at last. And that's that. You're all caught up. Now let's get to the main point of why you're really here. Will this truck run and drive?
Here we are, safe and sound. Guess now first order of business is to really see what do we have. Now we know we have a flathead 6-cylinder with, I think that's a Carter 2-barrel. Really don't know. Just to even see how things are going to look when we try to work on this thing. This hood latch is awful. There we go. Okay. Yeah, like I was saying, got a little old dinky, well, that's probably a 1-barrel carburetor, it looks like. Come in closer, check this out. Here you can see that 1-barrel. This is a vintage. I think it said Carter when I looked at it. Yeah, it's an old Carter. So, if all else fails, I've got a 2-barrel for it, so we can always swap that out if we need to. I can get an adapter for it. We've got all our linkage. I sprayed it down with some PB Blaster to make sure that it would all be free and not stuck like a few weeks ago when I first brought this thing home. So hopefully that's going to help us a lot. I guess first order of business is to hop up here and try to turn this fan. That's a giant belt. And you spin. Well, the water pump's not stuck. The belt is too loose to try. The crank is rotating just the tiniest little bit. I think we'll be okay. Tell you what, let's just, we'll check the oil in it. Make sure it's full, because it will need a change obviously, but we can at least try to fire it with what's in it and drop a battery in this thing and see if we can at least get it to crank. Sick, come for me. Oh man, she's full. This thing's basically ready to drive. I messed up and left my gloves in the truck and they had gotten wet and now they're covered in ice. They're frozen. So now I don't have any good gloves. So I may die out here. Put this tarp up here and I found out it was gonna snow real bad. It's frozen in there now. Battery goes in right here under the floor. I don't remember which one's which. Starter solenoid's like right up here, so I'm hoping that that one is the positive. That battery tray is ready to go at any moment. Oh, and I found some gloves. They're wet, but I let them dry out on the dash of the truck. So they're kind of warm, or they were, at least about 10 minutes ago. So now they're nice and frosty again, but whatever. Okay. So, we've got a seat that isn't really existing anymore. And a lot of wasp and hornet spray. So I don't know what was going on, but I guess it got bad at one point here. So I see that there's a screwdriver laying in the front seat, and I'm assuming that that is what's supposed to start this truck because he said he didn't have any keys for it. And it just so happens it does fit. What was that? The fuel gauge jumped when I did that. Is that a fuel pump? Really? If this thing's got a fuel pump on it already, like an electric one, it's gonna save me so much effort. I'm just gonna clutch goes in. It's in neutral. Let's just try and see if it'll bump right now. Wiggle our battery cables. Wiggle one, wiggle two. Oh, we got a runner, boys. This thing's gonna drive out of here now, seems like. Will you go back in gear? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't know what is gear and what's not gear. I think that's A gear. I don't know. We'll worry about that when we get there. Any signals? Well, now I'm curious if this electric fuel pump is actually doing anything. Let's take this. Tell you what, Snow. I need you to be removed. Okay. Let's see if we can get this clamp off. I just love these clamps. They're great. The real question is, will this come loose? Because that hose right there is very deteriorated. Come on now. Okay. Now I guess let's cycle the pump, see what happens. I guess there's nothing coming out of it. Which I guess it could be a bad pump, or it just doesn't pick up anything at all. But nothing. Well, let me try and take this filter off here, because there's no telling what's in that filter. So we're getting nothing. Which is probably a good thing. If there's no fuel in the tank, that means that maybe there's not a lot of trash in there. Okay, that's a good sign. I like that. Hey, check this out. I just noticed this. Can you see that? I can hear the tone of the fuel pump change as that light flashes. Listen. Oh, hey, check this out. So I got to looking under here, and I noticed that there's a drain plug under the gas tank, and it's been leaking for quite some time, it seems like. That looks disgusting. Absolutely nasty. So I'm hoping that it's leaked all that trash gas out of here. I don't see anything under here, so it could be empty already. Let's try and take this loose and just see what exactly is going to come out of here. That looks like a it's a 9/16. Come on. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. If something comes out of here, we'll get a bucket. Catch all this trash that's going to come out of here. Oh. Well, there's nothing in the tank. So that'll do a heck of a lot. That's a good thing, though. Oh my goodness. It's absolutely solid in the tank. Can I punch a hole in it?
Can gas freeze? Is that a thing? Oh! Oh boy. Uh-oh. Drain plug. I don't have the drain plug. Yeah, that smells like delicious varnish. Okay. How am I gonna get this without getting into my armpit? I'm gonna let that go. I'll be right back. I'll grab a bucket. Well, by the time I got back with this bucket, this thing's pretty much done dripping. So I'll just set this, ow, I just hit my head. So I'll just set this right up under here. There you go, catch all the good stuff. So got about a gallon's worth of diesel fuel right there, and then about 5 gallons worth of good old-fashioned 89 octane. I'm gonna pour that diesel in there first, try to wash all that out, and then we will, before we put the plug back in, we'll wash a little bit of gas through there just to get the diesel out of there, and hopefully it'll come out clean on the other end, and then we'll put the plug back in. Oh my goodness, that looks terrible. You see how brown that is? Well, that's all the diesel right there, and it's coming out clear the other side. So that's a good sign. Let that finish run out of there, and then we will pour the gas in. Right here is our electric fuel pump. And I'm gonna change all these hoses real quick. Some old looking hoses. Somebody's put a clear one on here. We've got hardline, thankfully, coming from off the, we have one coming off the tank on this side over here, and then it goes through here, and then there's a hard line up here at the top. There's just gas sitting right here. You can't see it right now, but it just looks nasty. Yeah, nothing came out of that. Let's get it off this other end. Okay. Now let me, yeah, that, look at that. Look how brittle that was. It was ready to snap at any moment. Let's attempt to cut this loose. I don't know how well this is gonna work. This stuff does not want to come out at all. It was an absolute battle to get that old line off. Now we're good to go with this new one. The good news is here on this glass filter, while I was letting all that gas drain out of the tank, I managed to get this thing to come loose. So I'm just gonna do away with it completely, and then just run like a hose clamp here. I know I need a flared end, but it'll at least hold right there with a regular clamp. Let's add 5 gallons of gas here. See how she likes it. Fill it up, and then try and attempt to see if that fuel pump will actually pick anything up this time. Now I'm going to turn the key over and see if any gas comes out of that line at all now. Oh, hey! Here we go. It took it a second. You could hear it trying to prime. I could hear the tone start to change. But I guess it just it had a lot of fuel line to fill up. But it shot out gas like crazy. I guess what we can do is run it to a jug outside, so that way we can filter any of that. You see how nasty that stuff was too.
Alright, I hooked up a jug here. It's flowing clean, guys. That is clear gas. Clear as could be.
At this point, the wind was almost unbearable to the point where you really couldn't even hear what I was saying. And I was really just rambling on about how getting this truck to run could go very good or very bad. I also told myself to check the coolant since I had forgotten, which it was low. In my excitement, I forgot to film filling it back up. Then my hose clamps went missing, which doesn't help when you're so anxious to see if we have a runner or not.
Keep an eye on that fuel filter. Let's see if it'll fill up. Nice! How's it look? It's clean. We got any kind of accelerator pump, you think? Heck if I know. Next up on the list is to check for fire. I've rigged up a screwdriver right next to the spark plug, and we're going to crank it over and just see if does it spark at all, does anything even happen. No way! What? It actually fired. Wow, I didn't have to do that. Wow. Oh, hold on. That's amazing. I'm gonna crank on it. You guys heard it run for the first time in no telling how many years. I'm gonna see if it'll idle now.
That sound you just heard was the starter actually hanging open, and whenever I go back into the truck, you can see me try to turn it back over, to no avail.
The starter may have hung open because there was a noise coming from, I don't know, it sounded weird. My lips are like, I'm having trouble talking. It's so cold out here. I think the starter hung. Yeah, it doesn't want to turn over. I hope I didn't break it. Let's try it one more time.
Hop back in the truck again, tried to turn the starter over. All it would do was click. I heard the fuel pump engage, so I knew at least my accessories were working, but for whatever reason, my ignition had stopped functioning.
Ignition switch made me bad. Let me try and cross over the solenoid. I think I broke the ignition switch is what happened. It's running better now.
And of course, I messed that up by bragging on him.
Well, spoke too soon. Hold on. Let me
me try to close the choke again when it warm up some. That hurt.
If we let the pump run too long without running the engine, it'll fill up the bowl too much and actually pour gas out the carburetor. But the good news is if somebody's put some kind of Ford style starter solenoid right down there, so it's pretty easy to start at least. Running good though. Clean gas coming out of it. Mother of all exhaust leaks. Get some temperature in her and then we'll try to open that choke back up. Look at the carburetor frosting over. See if any of the gauges work. It says we have oil pressure. I don't know if any of the temperature gauges work. We got two of them. The fuel, it's back to nothing. No amps. And the speedometer, that's showing 52,000 miles. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Got a little bit of this sea foam here. Hopefully that'll help. Make sure that tank doesn't come back to bite us. I'm trying to open up the choke now, see if he's warm enough. Yeah. Is there a vacuum leak anywhere? Getting warm. That's pretty good. Check this out. We have lights up here. That's all we got, but they work. We're gonna see if it has any kind of clutch, or if it even has a gear at all. If I get this thing stuck, I don't know if it's getting out. wants to. I can definitely tell it wants to. I left it in gear. Wow, I'm glad I wasn't on the bumper for that one. It rolled out of there though. That was terrifying. Luckily we had nothing in front of us. All the snow's melted, by the way, except for right where I'm working. So it just makes everything a lot more fun. Hey, that's awesome. That was terrifying. I can't tell if I'm shaking because I'm nervous, terrified, scared, or that it's cold out here. I really don't know anymore. But I guess we can try and see if it's got reverse now. Mud pit everywhere in the yard. I don't know how far I'm gonna make it. Especially this thing doesn't want to run. Yes, this thing is low geared. I love it. I'm looking over at all the snow on the windshield. Yes. I feel powerful. Wait a second. Oh, I got third gear. This thing is a monster. No pedal, straight to the floor. I love this truck. I don't care what anybody says. This thing is awesome. Steering wheel the size of a car rim because there's no power steering. Brakes aren't functional. But look at it crawl. This thing is literally crawling in first gear. I'm driving right through mud. I'm kind of nervous. Didn't bury it. Just crawls right through. Whoa! Ha 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 ha! Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Right through the mud. Doesn't even care. I don't care. Very rarely do I get this excited over something like this. But this truck is awesome. Right back where we found it. Ha ha ha! Yes! Yes!
The video's over already? He didn't finish the brakes. He didn't do the wiring or anything. I mean, it's useless at this point. That's why you need to subscribe. Just scroll down just a little bit, just a little bit. Hit that subscription. Hit the notification button real quick. That way you don't miss part 2. And you don't want to miss part 2. It's about to get real hairy. Yeah, the fun has to end for now, but if you subscribe, you won't miss out on that fun. While you're here, I wonder if you can get this video up to 10,000 likes. Pretty sure you guys can handle that. As far as naming this truck, drew a little inspiration from the country singer and sausage maker Jimmy Dean. He had a song back in the day called Big Bad John. And the lyrics go a little bit like this. He's kind of broad at the shoulder, he's narrow at the hip, real skinny tires. Everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big John. Would you mess with a truck like this? I know I wouldn't. That's why we're going to call him Big John. If you want to listen to that song, I've linked it down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.